a stallion with not a mark upon his silky hide, teaching me can dress me like a sister. One day we'll saddle up and ride, and we're gonna ride, we're gonna ride, ride like the one-eyed jack of diamonds with the devil close behind. We're gonna ride.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Defense of the Patients. If the intro music didn't give it away, this is not what I think anybody would consider a stereotypical episode of Defense of the Patients. Unfortunately, I bring sad news. And then this is Cyphus. I'm assuming that most of you listening to this know that I'm Cyphus, or Denny, General Denny, as many of you have come to know me, or who have had the unfortunate pleasure of playing in a Dota game with me. With Roland's departure, the last couple of weeks, I've had to figure out what the future of Defense of the Patients, and in particular my future with Defense of the Patients, was going to be. Well, let's get out of the way what's going to happen first. And then I can run through, for those who are interested, for those who aren't interested or who aren't fans of mine in particular, or, are more concerned with where they can continue to find content and all that kind of stuff. Let's get the basics out of the way. The week of November 6th will be the last week, more or less, of regular shows on Defense of the Patients. After that, Ursi and Proud and Beedub will be moving on to a new project. They will still be doing Dota shows. In fact, they'll still be doing Teach Me Tuesdays and Theorycraft Thursdays, albeit they may have some, slight modifications along the way, but the essence and core of those shows will still exist. They're going to be moving on to a new project, and I hope I'm not stepping on anybody's toes by announcing it here, but it's going to be called Fourth Spirit. They will be, as far as I'm concerned, the best Dota 2 podcast out there. So while Defense of the Patients will be shutting its doors, another one's going to be opening. And for those of you who have been following along with Theorycraft Thursday and listening to those shows and are fans of Ursi and Proud and want to be able to continue to listen to their content, stay tuned over the next few weeks, because Fourth Spirit will be launching in that time, and their first episode will actually be the 7.07 patch notes when those finally break. I think many of you are going to be interested in that and want to follow along and hear what they have to say and hear their analysis. I suspect I'll listen to it. And from there, you'll be able to find their RSS feed pretty easily and subscribe to it and continue to get at least those two shows every week, completely focused on Dota 2. I've spoken with Breaky about all of this. This is not news to any of the show hosts or the folks that have been kind of in the administration and of Defense of the Patients. I'm not sure what Breaky's plans are. I suspect that you will still get content from him. Obviously, he has been stepping his game up quite a bit, doing casting. Breaky's somebody you're going to see a lot more of if you continue to follow the Dota 2 scene. I wish I had a good, concise explanation for why this is going to be. Oh, and also, I guess another bit to say is part of the reason we chose the week of November 6th is I'll probably do one final farewell episode, November 13th, which is a Monday. I get to pull rank and be the last episode because I helped start the whole thing. And I'll be honest, as I record this episode, I'm not even sure if I'm going to do that episode. It's tough to stay motivated right now. It's sad to see everything go, but the week of November 13th, it will also be the final .p in-house. So November 15th, that Wednesday, the week before Thanksgiving, we're going to do the final one. And I will still do a gift card giveaway for the, because you guys knew that was coming, and we're going to adhere to our promises in that regard. I don't know if they'll be done the same night or not, but they will happen. And the Discord will probably continue to exist. My plan is to turn that over to the community, because that's not really mine. It's not really Defense of the Patients as a company's. It doesn't really belong to the company even. It belongs to you guys. You guys are the community that set it up, and I suspect that you'll continue to do good things with it, and nobody's going to sue or get angry or be mad that it's still going. That is yours to keep. And, not that I'm even gifting it to anybody. I just, I assume a lot of people are going to wonder what's going to happen with the Discord. At least for now, it's going to continue existing. And Fourth Spirit, when they get their show up and running, for the fans of Fourth Spirit that want to be able to continue to talk with Ursinity and Proud via that channel, they will have a Discord up and running as well. But like I was saying, I wish there was something concise to explain why this is all kind of coming to an end. But unfortunately, I don't. It's a messy process. As you guys know, Roland departed about 2 weeks ago, and I don't know, it was funny. We got a couple of emails, more than a couple, but, a dozen emails or so, at least, of folks, wishing Roland a fond farewell. A couple not so fond of farewell. But people reached out to him, I think, on Reddit as well. But what surprised me most about it all was the people who hit me up privately. The fans of the show who sent me a DM through Discord or Twitter, in particular. Those are the two places I heard from everybody the most. Just wishing me the best. And it was, I guess what was most funny about it is that you guys knew, because you know me from doing the show, you guys knew that was going to mean a devastating change, and a tough change for me. And I really appreciated that. There were a lot of warm words of encouragement, keep going, keep doing it, keep at it. Unfortunately, it just isn't that simple. I don't feel like I've been putting on a show. I know that was a big theme of the episode where Roland, let everybody know that he was going to go. I don't feel like I ever put on a real big show. I definitely feel like I may have reined myself in sometimes, or tried to maybe play up the more like calm, logical elements of my personality, which I think are, for the most part, the biggest elements of my personality. Don't get me wrong, but I think I may have played into those strengths to, for obvious reasons, to rein in the zaniness that were the show with the co-hosts that I've had along the way. And, to kind of keep things moving. And it was good for the sake of the conversation, but I never felt like I was putting on an act. Definitely I made some PR choices as far as, maybe I didn't delve into, or I tried to not delve into anything too political too often, because let's be honest, politics has no place in Dota. Not really. This is something we all do in our leisure time, and should be something we can all bond over, not something that, where anything further divides us. I also made PR choices, if I happen to dislike somebody or in the community, whether that's our community, which is few and far between the people I've disliked meeting through .p, if I'm being honest. But, or the Dota 2 scene at large, not like there, are personality conflicts everywhere, no matter what job you try to take on or what hobby you get involved with. There's always going to be people that you don't like. So I suppose in that regard, I suppose somebody could accuse me of being, quote unquote, dishonest, for maybe not like just ranting and raving against a particular individual at some point, which, is just kind of the nature of doing what we're doing here, what we were doing here, trying to, exist in the public life, or the public light rather. You don't burn bridges unnecessarily. But I've always felt like I was being really honest with you guys. And so I'm as I say a semi-farewell here, I want to be as honest as possible about everything that's kind of gone down, because I want .p to go out in a classy fashion. That's the word I keep trying to use, is I want our farewell to be classy, because you guys, for the most part, were a pretty classy community. The way that this company is currently structured left a lot to be desired for me to continue on running it myself. I guess is what I'll say first and foremost. I didn't like the idea of me being the one who was shouldering the brunt of the responsibility, debts that the company had acquired along the way. Just doing that kind of stuff all on my own, and not owning the majority of it, which I don't. I don't own the majority of Defense of the Patients. I own a large chunk of it, but I definitely don't own the majority of it. There were also issues with, definitely the surrounding Roland's departure and kind of the method that he chose to use to do that. Obviously, that created some hard feelings for folks. As much as as long as I've known Josh, Roland, for those who are confused, when I say Josh, as much as I've valued his friendship over the years, I do know that he has a hard time working with people. I think he would tell you that himself. And this, sorry, I know this has got to be a painful episode to listen to, miserable, because I'm stuttering and all over the place. But I feel like you guys deserve an episode, and I feel like I deserve to have one of these episodes to announce all of this and kind of bring it all about. So forgive me, I did not come into this with a plan or an outline, which is what a good podcaster would have done. You guys have known me for a while. I'm not a great podcaster. But he's always had a hard time working with people, and it definitely made working relationships strained. And I don't want to air a bunch of dirty laundry beyond what it sounds like I'm already doing. But it made things difficult, and for me at least, it meant that I couldn't just keep doing .p in its current incarnation without some pretty serious overhauls. And those overhauls seemed pretty unlikely to happen, and when I started looking down the road at possible outcomes for .p, whether it was successful or failed, I saw a lot of negative, which is really hard to say. So first and foremost, I saw like, all right, hey, what happens, something happens to Dota, or something happens to the podcast, or people just plain old stop listening. It would suck to fail, a year down the road and be, planning to do this, or hell, even worse, to like just barely get to the point where I'm finally able to do this full time for a living, and then have it fail, and then just be stuck without a job for a short period of time or something like that, which were all risks that felt easier to take. I mean, they felt easier to take with a partner, and not that those risks aren't worth taking, but then even solo. And I suspect that, I may even take a risk like that somewhere down the road with a different project, or a different, with something altogether different. Whatever that may be, a different business. Hell, who knows? I certainly don't right now. But then I was also looking at was also looking at the options for success and worrying about what that would do with my personal relationships. And given that there were already a lot of, hardships or hard feelings with people that would continue to be involved with the project moving forward, and just a lot of different things that those are things I didn't want to deal with down the road. Those are things I don't, those are obstacles I don't want to have to overcome, which really sucks. It really does. I would love nothing more than to continue on with Defense of the Patients. I've grown to really love this community. And this game and esports in general. It's been fascinating in my adult life, growing up the kid that I grew up, to see the possibilities and the potentialities that all of these different facets of gaming have. That, there once upon a time, the only way you could get involved with video games professionally was to make them or advertise them. And now we live in a day and age where that's just one side of it. That's just one minor facet of it. And yeah, sure, advertising and all that's always going to play a big role in how you do things, right? I mean, streamers need ads, podcasters need ads, that kind of stuff is always going to be injected in it just because of the nature of our economy and our capitalist society. Like that's life. But just the fact that those things were now possible from a completely different realm, a completely different perspective, a completely different position in gaming was really exciting. And it's really, it still is exciting. It's still amazing to see. And, I'm thrilled that I get to see it as a grown up. It makes me wish I was born 10 years later and I don't often wish that. This particular development definitely makes me wish that sometimes. Not that you're ever too old to do anything, but you know what I mean. So I do wish that there's nothing more than I wish nothing more than that to continue on with .p, but like I said, I can't, no matter how I slice it, I see a lot of negatives, and in seeing all those negatives, I feel like I'm left with no choice. So I guess therein lies my explanation for why things are going to go the way they are. So if some people would have preferred that .p just went dark one day, and so when I talk about going out classy, that's what I mean. I don't. You guys have given us so much that you deserve way better than that. So with that in mind, my goal is to give you a few more weeks of awesome shows, round out the rest of this in-house season, and really properly say goodbye. And not only that, but give Ursinity Proud and Beedub, give them a chance to make sure that you guys know where you can find them and give you time to find them and sync up so that you can continue to get Dota podcasts from people you know and love. Those guys are great. You guys have listened to them for a long time. I'm sure like all people, I'm sure some of you out there are bugged by certain aspects of one or the other, or me and all of us, and have been somewhere along the way. But they're genuinely good people. And they make a good show. I love Theorycraft Thursday. I frequently laugh to myself or laugh out loud when I'm putting that show together. And there have been some weeks where the only thing I get are like the intro and outro portions, and then the middle segments. When I'm splicing together the show and putting in that god awful segue music, which I'm sure Ursinity and Proud are going to be thrilled to get rid of and have replaced with something that they actually like and that all of you might actually like. Like I always told everybody, it's dealer's choice, and sometimes I'm lazy, so you get the same music for a few weeks in a row. there have been times when I've been listening to that show and just listening to the intro segment, or even just listening to, and sometimes I splice them in at the end of the episodes, or even play them, right before the music starts or something, of just like Proud Nurse's interactions before they get into the show, and they get recorded, and they're always hilarious. It's always well worth it. Yeah. So if we're gonna go out, classy. God damn it! I've been thinking a lot about this. You guys have no idea how much I've mulled over what to do here, and how many times I've contemplated trying to figure out a way to keep going, and how many times I've even just like gone really dark and contemplated just going dark with the show and just killing everything all at once. And those moments are fleeting. They're very fleeting, I assure you. It's not really who I am. It's just saying goodbye to this project is, it's definitely on the top 10 list of hardest things I've ever done in life. Recording this episode is up there. Top 10 for sure. It's amazing. It's amazing what an idea, what an off the cuff comment can turn into, is what this show has kind of made me realize. I was sitting outside with Andrew, who those of you who've listened for a long time knows the Grand Wazoo, and Josh Roland, that's how you guys have known him. I was standing outside with them. I'm sure we were smoking cigarettes at the time. And not Wazoo, but Josh and I certainly. But Andrew got us into this game, and God damn him and God bless him all at the same time. And I remember just standing out there over a smoke, and literally every smoke we started to have, because we got into this weird schedule where if you guys are smokers or former smokers like myself, it's tough. You go out on a schedule almost. Like you almost have one an hour, or one, for some people, maybe every 15 minutes. For us, it was one a Dota game. We would have a Dota game, and we'd go outside, and we'd all meet up outside right after a Dota game, and we would just talk constantly about it. And I remember I was a big fan of podcasts at the time. I'd gotten over to it. I know I'm reiterating. I know I'm retelling an old tale. But I had loved Loveline growing up. In my immature years, I've loved that show. And I had started listening to Adam Carolla's podcast, and he got me, just into the world of podcasting, which is why I think I always make reference to Adam Carolla. I don't even listen to him anymore. But he was one of the first people that I checked out, that I got into. And then of course moved on from that to things like Dan Carlin's Hardcore History, and literally every news podcast out there. It became the only way that I ever listened to anything. I found myself relating to old men, because growing up, when I would take drives with, any of my grandparents, or with uncles and older guys in general, they would always listen to talk radio, and it drove me mad. It actually drove me mad as a kid. I couldn't stand it. I wanted to listen to music. I couldn't believe that people drove around and listened to other people talk. It fascinated me that would even it didn't even fascinate me. It boggled my mind. I was so confused by it. And then in my mid-20s, I found myself being that guy. I mean, I so rarely listen to music anymore, because I just listen to podcasts. I always do, or occasionally an audiobook, but usually a podcast. And I was really into it, and we were out in one of those smoke breaks, and we were talking about Dota, and I was like, man, as much as we talk about Dota, we should just do a Dota podcast. It'd be fun. We could sit around and talk about it all day long. And here we are, 3 years later. 3 years and change. 3 years and 2 months-ish. Probably 3 years and 3 months by the time this all officially wraps. I remember those first episodes. God, those episodes feel like they were yesterday. It's it's weird. It's weird to think about. It all went by so goddamn fast. This show, it's so weird to think about. This show took me to Seattle on 3 separate occasions. It took me to New York on one particular occasion. And every time it was a crazy experience. It was an amazing experience. Man, I'm really thankful for it. I'm so thankful for it. I'm so thankful that I got to have this opportunity, that I got to hang out with all of you, and that I got to know, obviously not all of you. I apologize, but some of you I've gotten to know, thankfully, along the way. And every person's been pretty amazing in their own way. It's been really rewarding getting to meet people, and thank you guys for making me, feel like somebody. That I can't thank you enough for that. That was a truly amazing experience. I know I'm probably sounding repetitive, but I don't know what else to say but thanks. And I'm sorry that it's ending. I genuinely believe that if we'd kept at this for another 2 years or so, we'd be doing this full time. I still believe that. I know Josh disagrees, and I know a lot of people disagree. I'm sure there are plenty of people out there that would look at what we were doing and what we've done thus far and say, no, probably not going to happen. But I still believe it. I've believed it. I've believed it from the get-go that it was a possibility, and I still do. But unfortunately, like I said, the way things are, I can't continue on. Boy, I wish I could. I wish this wasn't the end, but it's also not. So I don't know what I'm going to move on to next, and I wish, if I were a smart man, I would tell you right now, because you live and die on the internet in a matter of days. It was a large part of why we never missed an episode, or tried our damnedest to never miss an episode. And I think for the most part, with probably the exception of yesterday, I think we always released something, whether it was a re-release of a .p classic, or some, sorry, we're not going to record an episode today thing, which I think I know we at least did once, because we were running late and Game of Thrones was coming on, and we always recorded on a Sunday. I think we didn't. I was always, man, I'm proud that we did that. I'm proud that we were able to. I'm proud of things that were done here. I'll always look back at this with pride. I tried to give it my all. I know I fell short in a lot of ways, on a lot of occasions. I know there are patrons who we didn't interact with enough. To you guys, I sincerely apologize. We'll be taking down the Patreon at the end of the month. So you guys will see one more charge. Those of you that hang with us will see one more charge at the end of October. And then after all that's said and done, and I understand if some of you cancel, I hope some of you don't, because I'm hoping to pay the rest of the bills before we sign off. But if we have to go into our own pockets to do it, that's fine. We'll figure it out. But we're not going to charge you guys for after the end of October, because you're not going to be getting anything from us, and obviously that's wrong. So that's the first thing that's going to get shut down as a Patreon. But my apologies to those that we fell short on delivering things there. I know we've done that in some at least in some capacity, whether it was we didn't get to enough gushes on the air, or we didn't release enough backgrounds. I know there's at least one background that is done that needs to be released, and I'm going to try to make sure that happens before the end for those that subscribe there. And I think we'll just make it available to all patrons, so you guys can see. At this point, why not? And hell, Beedub did great work on it. We paid her to do it, and it deserves to be somebody's desktop background somewhere. It's dope. So I know I've fallen short in some places, but I am for the most part proud of what we accomplished. It's hard to make something out of nothing. And I do feel like we managed to do that. And more to the point, you guys helped. Whether you were just somebody who left us a review on iTunes, or you were somebody who shot us a nice tweet or liked or retweeted something, which gave us motivation to keep going, or you were somebody who donated on Patreon, who literally made it possible to keep going and pay people and actually cut a check to Ursi and Proud and Breaky at the end of the month so that they could be compensated for, donating their time to this project while we tried to get things off the ground. Or somebody who wrote in to ask us a question to help give us content for the show, or even just gave us some nice words of encouragement. Man, after all that, the list of people, I shouldn't even try to get to all of them, but like TJ Sutton and Kruger and so many people. Sully, sorry, you were the person I replied to the absolute latest, because I've been kind of avoiding Discord lately, trying to figure everything out in my life. You guys helped a ton. Oh my God, you guys helped a ton. You made this. You gave me motivation. And so for all of that, I'm really proud of and happy for and thankful for. So thank you to all of you. And then a big thank you to Tom, to Juice, sound engineer. He hates when we gush over him, but my God, did that guy help us a ton. It's why you're listening to me record, obviously not in the studio. The studio is no more. Which is sad in its own way. I'm recording on a shitty USB mic at my house right now, and I know I don't sound great. That's the mic's fault, but Tom has made it so that it doesn't sound like absolute garbage. So thanks to Juice for that. He probably killed me right there because I think I saw a spike, or he probably I think I just saw the sound spike there, so I probably just clipped, like right as I'm thanking him for helping with the sound. I'm sure that hurt his soul somewhat, somewhere in Seattle. There's a handsome sound engineer who's wincing just a tid, and even more so now because I'm describing him as handsome. And then thank you to Grouty. Grouty was somebody who invested in this company early on, who definitely deserves more than he got out of it. And I mean, he made the in-houses possible. I know there are a lot of you out there that probably never participated in any of the in-houses. Those things have been an amazing show to watch. A ton of people show up. Grouty has organized the whole thing. He keeps everybody moving. He has helped people get a footing in learning how to cast, and man, that guy puts in work. And I hope somebody out there is involved in esports and hears this, because that man needs a job in esports. Somebody needs to hire him. He will do good work. He's well worth your time. Of course, big thank you to Breaky, Ursi, Proud. Those guys have been amazing. They've shown up. They've done their job. I literally should ask for no more of them, but frequently they do provide more or go above and beyond in service of the show. And they've been lifesavers on many an occasion. They've helped record episodes and just get things out that I otherwise could not have. God, Beedub, thanks a ton. She definitely kept things afloat for us almost the last few months. Definitely helped bring in a lot of people to the show with designing graphics and and honestly just listening to us bullshit, trying to figure out what we needed to do, and tried to help us tackle problems that we didn't even realize we had. She was a huge help on social media. I can't stress that enough. If you guys are looking for graphic design, you should hit up Beedub. She's a freelancer and she does amazing work and timely work. easily one of the most professional people I've dealt with in this entire process. I think that about covers the admin stuff, or the admins. Yeah, I'm sorry. This is probably just a depressing episode to listen to, and not a great episode. It's not great content. I know a lot of people hit us up and were like, "Hey, you shouldn't have put out that Roland episode," and you're totally right. But that was not my call. I did not make that decision, and I didn't feel like I needed to. I didn't want to go above him, like go over his head and remove it. I mean, I could have, but it didn't feel right. I figure I'll let him say his piece, and that was his piece. I don't know. I guess I don't have anything else really great to say. I wish I had something truly profound, something truly amazing, but I don't. So I'm going to close this all by saying that over the next couple of weeks, I don't know what you're going to get from Monday. It's really hard for me both logistically and also from an emotional and motivational standpoint to record shows. I've wanted to do this announcement for a little while. The big reason I didn't is because there were some talks about somebody wanting to buy the company. That didn't really pan out. So I held off, at least last week, on recording this episode, just for the sake of that deal, in case it went through, so that, I might be announcing my departure, but maybe not the end of Defense of the Patients. Unfortunately, I am, though. Unfortunately, it is time for .p to come to a full conclusion. I thank you guys so much. I'm sorry that I'm reiterating that. I'm sorry that I'm repetitive, but I wanted to say it. I wanted to stress it. I don't know what I'm going to move on to just yet. I guess what I was going to say is with the upcoming episodes, I've been talking to a couple of like the former show hosts that have been on the network. Might do 1 or 2 episodes with a couple of them, to say farewell and reminisce about good times at .p and see where they're at one last time before we all pack up shop completely. But as far as what I move on to next, I'm still trying to figure that out. I think I want to still podcast. I think that's going to mean that I need to invest in at least a step up from the microphone I'm currently using. I think we'd all agree. I know Juice would agree. So I'm looking at all of that, and after I figure that out, then we'll go from there. I think my time with Dota might be over. Some of that I know is emotional confusion tied up with feeling like my baby's dying. I love this project. I've loved every episode I've recorded. I've had a blast doing it. I've tried to give the best content that I possibly can. Sometimes it isn't very popular. Sometimes it is. But loading up Dota right now is painstaking, if I'm being honest. That's why I haven't talked about Dota this whole episode. I haven't played in about 2 weeks since Roland left, and the scramble to figure out what was going to happen kind of started. And upon realizing that there was a very strong likelihood, as you now know, that this was all coming to an end, it was hard to load up Dota because, honestly, I just haven't been able to bear the thought of saying goodbye. And I couldn't even. I almost loaded it up. I almost loaded it up when they released the behavior score, so I could see what my behavior score was. Because there's this part of me that always wants to. There's this part of me that's still in show mode that still wants to defend my my bossiness in games, because I feel like I get results, and more often than not, I feel like when I call the shots and when I when I do that, I get positive responses from people. At least my commends over the climb to 3K seemed to suggest that. So I was really curious to see what my behavior score was and if I took a hit for it so that I could talk about it on the show. Only I don't know who to talk about that with now. And I don't know. I don't know that I can. It's hard for me to play. It's hard for me to play because it makes me think about all that. And maybe I'm just running from it. Or maybe I'm clinging to the past. I don't know. You guys are here for my internal therapy session. But these last couple of episodes, this is not going to be the only sad one. I might get a little choked up on the last episode that gets recorded. I know at the start of this I said I wasn't even sure if I was going to do that episode. As I get going now, I can't imagine not recording at some point and putting something out there. So I suspect that I will keep doing that, and I'm not gonna, we'll say goodbye in a final episode for sure. It might be brief if there's nothing to really talk about, but there'll at least be one final word. So the next few episodes that you get, that you get from me, if I can get them out, are going to be uplifting. They're going to be happy. We're going to be looking back on fond memories. We're going to look ahead at good things to come. Especially, there's an element to all of this that should be exciting. Ursinity and Proud going off and doing their own thing, with Beedub, of course, as well. That's exciting. They have a lot of potential. That show is one of the best on the network. It's one of the best downloaded shows consistently. I think that those two have a real shot of not even just being Dota personalities, but personalities in general. And getting something new off the ground, I can tell you from personal experience and seeing those first wave of numbers and the who's listening and getting feedback, those are exciting times. And so when you guys are thinking about this, and maybe I'm just projecting. Maybe I'm projecting my own sadness onto all of you. But if you are getting sad about .p leaving, think about that. Think about how exciting it's going to be for them, and consider being a part of it. Consider being there with them along for the ride and supporting them in what they do moving forward. The way that you supported us, the way that you motivated us, it was incredible. And I will never, ever forget it. So, goodbye to all of you for now. A couple more episodes to come. Some Theorycraft Thursdays yet to come. Stay tuned and look for Fourth Spirit and what they get launched and what they get going. I'll let you know what I'm going to be doing. I think that's it for now, guys. So, until next time, this is Cyphus saying good luck and Godspeed.
I'm gonna steal a silver stallion with not a mark upon his silky hide, teaching me can trust me like a sister. One day we'll saddle up and ride, and we're gonna ride, we're gonna ride, ride like the one-eyed jack of diamonds with the devil close behind. We're gonna ride, we're gonna ride. Gonna find me a reckless man, razor blades and ice in his eyes, just a touch of sadness in his fingers, thunder and lightning in his thighs. And we're gonna ride, we're gonna ride, ride like the one We're gonna ride. We're gonna ride. I'm gonna chase the sky forever with the man, the stallion, and the wind. The sun is gonna burn into a cinder before we ever pass this way again. And we're gonna ride, we're gonna ride, ride like the one-eyed jack of diamonds with the devil close behind. We're gonna ride, we're gonna